Hello, my dear friends. If you want to start any business or industry or startup or any small business or enterprise, so that is related to jobs or that will be related to process industry or that will be related to products or that will be service industries. You must know the what is the selling price. Selling price क्या है? What is the selling price? How to find out the selling price of that product? That means you have to find out the cost of production. So for to find out the cost of production, we have to know the elements of cost. ये वीडियो आपको बहुत बेनिफिशियल हो सकता है to know the what is the cost of that product in production and what is the selling price, how to decide the selling price. So dear friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Kadam Academy and Industrial Engineering and IoT. Today we are going to study the elements of cost, and different elements are related to material, labor and expenses and overheads. So to start with these elements of cost, you must know the cost accounting. Already we have covered the what is the importance of cost accounting and the what is cost elements, elementary level of knowledge. Simple, what is the cost accounting already we have studied, and methods of costing also we have the video you can watch. This cost accounting is if we add the cost plus accounting, that is the cost accounting. But what is the cost and what is accounting, ये भी एक जान लेना है हमें. So first we'll study what is the cost. Needs nothing but the amount. हमें कुछ amount expenditure खर्च कर दिया है. Done the expenditure incurred or done or for reason, any reason, that may be manufacturing reason or that may be for labor or the very capital cost, direct cost, different reasons may be there. So that is nothing but the cost. Okay, हमने expenditure कर दिया है, खर्चा कर दिया है पैसा, that is the cost. This is the accounting. Accounting is what? Accounting है, this is the one of the, you can say, art and science of recording the business transactions, and that transaction in a methodical manner, like you can say the cost sheet or the financial statements or the balance sheet or the, you can say, the profit and loss account. Different methodical manner we can represent. And what is the purpose of this methodical manner? To show the true status of your business in upward direction, that will in profit or in loss, that we can at any instant we can find out by using this accounting. This accounting can find out. Then what is the cost accounting? The cost accounting is nothing but the process of accounting, to determining, to analysis and accumulate, classify, that aims to capture company's total cost of production. So through this cost accounting, it's very beneficial. हम लोग find out कर सकते हैं cost of production, that business, how to increase the profit of the business and how to generate the money. Okay, so friends, with the variable cost, fixed cost will understood for the different elements of cost. Now we'll go for the variable cost and fixed cost. In any industry, कौन सा भी industry अगर रहेगा, that cost will be variable or the fixed cost is required, that related to material use or related to labor employed, related to expenses, and which industry, that may be job industry or the process based industry or products based industry or the service industries. Different industry, these are the required. So now we'll start with the elements of cost. So see here, friend, the manufacturing setup, costing usually concern determining the cost of the production, that is expenses incurred. What are the required expenses to produce the finished products? What is the finished product? This is the car. Car is made up of this assembly of the all these parts. Number of parts you can see. For if you see any one of this part, like this wheel is made up of the tire, alloys, alloy wheel for this are nut and bolts. This each and every parts are manufactured separately from the raw material, and again it is finished, one wheel will be complete. Like this number of wheels, four wheels are required for this car with one stepney. Then it will be the finished product for this car. After assembling all this part in this car, that will be the finished product of the car. Okay, for each product there is a raw material required, and each product is the finished product for that industry. Those who are manufacturing this disc brake, they are manufacturing. This is the radiator, or this is the engine, this is the differential, these are the seats. These are manufacturing, different industries are there. They are manufactured in their own plant, and they are supplying to the main industry. So friends, this cost of production can find out by using the elements of cost. That elements of cost you must be clear. So major three elements of cost, that is material, labor and expenses. Material cost, labor cost and expenses cost. In this material, again having the direct material, indirect material cost. In labor, direct labor cost, indirect labor cost. In expenses, direct expenses, indirect expenses cost. We'll see one by one. First we'll go with the material cost. In industry uses all types of material in its production. All these material are considered in this case the cost. Material cost. The material cost is the cost of material or commodities used in this organization. What will happen in material cost? Direct material cost and indirect material costs. That we have to find out first. Direct material cost is the expenditure on the material to manufacture the finished product. That material, you can see here, these are the materials like these rods, these wires, or these various products. You can see the seats are there, or these plastic parts. These are the raw material. From this you can manufacture the finished products. हमने अभी देखा है, already have seen that car picture. The various products are there manufactured from like this raw material. So friends, this expenditure, इसका जो खर्चा होता है, what are the खर्चा required or the expenditure required for this finished product manufactured from the raw materials in the industry, that is nothing come under the direct material cost. There are different cost centers in the industry. That may be marketing industry, or marketing department, or financial department, or R&D, quality control, HR, or this testing, and any other department. They are not directly involved in production activity, but they are having the related this cost required. Okay, so these cost centers, direct material costs, are those can be identified with individual cost centers. Different cost centers, they will identify this cost, so they will find out this direct material cost. So this is the finished product from this raw material, that is a car. Okay, so this car having the different raw materials, from that raw material, that this finished products like this we can see, and final product is our car. So we can see one by one different industry. If suppose I want to manufacture this furniture, so what is the raw material for this furniture? Like this timber, this plywoods and nails, and the different material are required to manufacture finished product of the furniture. So this furniture like looking like this, but before this, that will be manufactured from the timber. So this timber is used for furniture. We can say the bricks and tiles are used for the manufacturing the buildings, like cement, the steel rods and the bricks, concretes are required to manufacture this building, finished building. Or the cost, some incidental expenses incurred, such as the freight or insurance for that product or the finished product or the material while during the transportation, or the cost required for the loading and uploading of the raw material or the finished products. Loading, unloading, loading and unloading expenses, or you can say the octroi cost required for the raw material in during the octroi, passing through the octroi, or for the GST or import duties, that cost is required. So that will come for the material, but it is related to only material, raw material only. This is coming to finish the product. Okay, so these come under the direct material cost. Now go toward the indirect material cost. In indirect material cost, this is the come under the overheads. We'll see later on. In indirect material cost, like these are cannot be identified with the individual cost centers. This is not identified with the individual cost center. They don't form an integral part of finished product. Finished product that will not include in finished product, but indirectly it is required. Like this lubricants or cotton waste to clean the machineries or the hands. The cotton waste are maximum used in different industries. Or you can see this cotton manufactured from the cotton. This cleaning materials are also required in industry to clean the floors or clean the machinery, and hygienic way to maintain. That is a requirement of nowadays. In every industry they are keeping the cleaning and safety. Okay, so that will also important. Or the stationery also required, come under the indirect material cost. Or cooling water or the grease oil is required to maintain the lubrication, or maintain the lubrication in the bearings or the pumps. Whatever is required, where it is required, the grease are used, different grease. Or you can see the nails or the nut bolts that come under the indirect material cost for the manufacturing of the product, but not directly the manufacturing the cost, but it is required. The safety shoes or the safety industrial safety products for the labors or the whatever the stationery or the consumable stores will be there. Okay, now we'll go toward the labor cost. Under this labor cost, direct labor cost and the indirect labor cost. This labor cost is nothing but the returns of work. Whatever the work done, that will be give you returns. Payment to the manpower in industry. Okay, what are the returns of work? Payment to the manpower in industry, like the wages, salary, remuneration, payment, bonus, or the commission, pay package, and etc. That will be for different purpose under the labor cost. Again, this labor cost is again distributed in direct cost and indirect labor cost. In direct labor cost, you can see this cost consists of wages paid to the working in industry. Those workers or operators are directly engaged in manufacturing, that product. That wages of those workers or operators, that is nothing but the direct labor cost. It also includes the wages paid to all such workers who are solely engaged in particular type of the production, or the job production or contact type production, or directly attributable to a specific cost unit. Example, the wages paid to the worker engaged in handling the product also. That handling the products, whatever the products are handled by these workers, that also come under the direct labor cost. You can see the worker who will work on the machinery and those who are also helping to them, that also come under the direct labor cost. Suppose this is a turner who is having the skill of the turning, work on the CNC machine or any other highly machines are used in industry. That turner salary is nothing but the direct labor cost in manufacturing of that. Suppose we are manufacturing the crankshaft or any job, that turner salary come under the direct labor cost. Similarly, the welder salary or the painter salary in a fabrication unit, these are the skilled persons are required. Okay, that come under the direct labor cost. Direct labor cost is nothing but it's a major component of the prime cost. What is prime cost? Prime cost is nothing but the addition of the direct material cost, direct labor cost, direct expenses, addition of these three, that is the prime cost. But total prime cost is 100%. So that out of this, the labor cost is the major component of this prime cost. So friends, the number of hours expended, what is the number of hours spent by that worker or operator in this production activity, that nothing but the number of jobs produced by him, that is come under the direct labor cost. How to find out the number of jobs produced or number of hours spent? Depend on that, we can calculate the direct labor cost. Now go toward this is the direct labor cost. We'll see the indirect labor cost. Under this, what will happen? It's not directly related to the production. These are required. These costs are required. The labors are required, but they are not involved in production. Like this, the timekeeper. Wages paid to the timekeeper, or wages paid to the watchman, or security, and the sweepers are required in industry, but they are not involved in the direct production. That will the indirect labor cost. You can say these are the indirect labor cost. Common nature expenses are treated as the indirect labor cost. Expenses are also treated as the overhead costs. This indirect labor cost also treated as the overhead cost. This cost is given to the labor but cannot be allocated to any cost center, but is absorbed by the concerned cost center. Like suppose maintenance department is the one of the cost center, so that labor cost is there, which are not directly involved in manufacturing process, but this maintenance is required to that machinery. These people, they will involved in the maintenance. Okay, like a foreman, supervisor, or maintenance people, they are involved in that related to maintain the production. Okay, so friends, these maintenance people, helpers, storekeepers, we can see the helpers or the storekeepers. Very large stores are there, and for this, store officers are required, the storekeepers are required. So what is the salary is required for those come under the indirect labor cost. Now we'll go toward the expenses. Expenses, nothing but the cost other than the direct material and direct labor. What is the cost required for direct material and direct labor? Excluding these two costs, what are the expenses required that come under this expenses? Again, this expenses is having direct expenses and the indirect expenses. Direct expenses we will discuss. Indirect expenses come under the overhead. Okay, so in this direct expenses, like the trial run of the any product testing. Okay, what are the costs required? Indirect expenses, other than the incurred direct material and labor already were studied, is directly attributed to the costs. Such the expenses are specially incurred for particular job, contract, or the worker, for the cost of trial runs or the cost of the simulations required, or we can say the drawings, or we can say the re-engineering, what is the cost required, or we can say the making a drawing before the designing. Okay, or cost of hiring the special tools and equipments, or the cost of hiring the special testing devices, like a non-destructive testing is required. So these come under the direct expenses cost. Or the cost of molds or dyes, you can see the bottle dye, or you can say the jigs and fixtures also. The cost required for the jigs and fixtures, you can see in this diagram how the jigs is and this is the fixtures. Okay, so this come under the direct expenses or expenditure on the special machines required. What are the special machine required or consultancy for a specific job? If you have taken any consultancy for this specific job, that come under the direct expenses cost. Now we'll go to the indirect expenses or overhead costs. You can say the overhead costs come under the overhead costs. These expenses cannot be allocated to the cost centers or treated as the overhead cost, but these expenses can be absorbed by the cost centers. Like these cost center means what? Already I told you, cost center means what? They are not directly involved in the production, but they are required, like finance, marketing, and the sales department, R&D or testing. These are departments are required. They are having some cost, like the telephone bill, rent of building, office, warehouses. Different the cost expenses are required for the cost centers. So dear friends, these are become under the indirect expenses or overhead cost. You can say the indirect expenses and overhead cost. So this direct material, direct labor or direct expenses already were studied. These indirect expenses come under the overhead costs. These telephone bill, rent of building, office, warehouses, or insurance of premium building, insurance premium we have to pay, or office insurance, or warehouse insurance, or the insurance premium for the employers. Okay, what are the insurance for the health insurance, where few companies are giving the health insurance to them, and the expenses required for these type of the lighting expenses required in industry. So these are the come under the indirect expenses. Now see here, major part, this overheads. Under this overheads, whatever the indirect material, indirect labor and indirect come under expenses come under this overheads. Again, these overheads we can say like this manufacturing or factory overheads or office and administrative overheads. We can say the sales and distribution overhead. The major manufacturing overheads we'll see the for different industry, for like jobs industry, based on the jobs, process industry or product industry or service industry. Now see the elements of cost we have studied: the direct material cost, direct labor cost, and direct expenses already. What are those costs? Already we have studied. Addition of these three, that will nothing but the with this factory overhead and the administrative overhead, distribution overhead, and selling overhead. The addition of this direct material, direct labor, and which will give the prime cost. Again, what will happen? The prime cost added with the factory overhead, that will give the factory cost, and the factory cost added with the administrative overhead, distribution overhead, and selling overhead, that will give the total cost of the product. After the total cost, there is no profit till we are discussed. If adding with the profit, that will give the total selling price. Selling price, what is the selling price? We can decide after addition of this profit in total cost. So selling price, nothing but the total cost plus profit. So this is the elements of cost we are studying. Now we'll see the factory overheads and the other administrative, distribution and selling overheads. What is the actual those costs? In the manufacturing factory overhead expenses, all indirect expenses are there. We can say the including of the expenses which incurred in connection with the manufacture of product. They are also known as works overheads or the works burden or factory burden. Here again it will be distributed in the fixed manufacturing overhead cost or the variable manufacturing overhead cost. This is the factory overheads, may be fixed or variable. How they are distinguish from each other. We'll see one by one. In fixed manufacturing factory overhead, the fixed costs are that don't vary with the volume of production. Whatever the volume is increased, but that cost is remain fixed. So these overhead costs or indirect costs are there that will come under this one. What are those costs? Those which will not do not vary with the volume of production. Example, that fixed costs are costs that don't vary with the volume of production, and increase or decrease in production levels could not cause the change in the cost. So what are these? Are usually things like a mortgage, lease payment, or building piece of equipment, or depreciation at a fixed monthly rate, that come under the fixed manufacturing overhead cost, like a salary of watchman, timekeeper, supervisor, or the expenses on the labor welfare, or the you can say the activities, various activities related to labor activities. Then next is the variable manufacturing cost. In variable factory or manufacturing costs vary directly with the volume of production. It will varies with volume of production. When volume is increased, these variable manufacturing overhead costs or expenses will be increased or decreased. They include the cost of fuel power. Fuel is required if more industry is working or more machinery are working, the fuel is required or power is required. Similarly, repair and maintenance will be more, or that cost required come under this variable manufacturing overhead cost, or cost of normal idle time. If cost idle time is more, then cost of idle it is included in this one. Cost of normal wastage or spoilage time, that will come under this one. The cost of oils, grease, coolant, or the cotton waste also increase, that come under the variable manufacturing, that will related to required for the production. That's why it's a variable manufacturing overhead cost. So what is the difference? Already we are understood, fixed and variable. Or cost of oil, grease, coolant, or the polishing materials are required. In different industry, different polishing materials are required. Next is the administrative overhead expenses. All indirect expenses for the general administration. Whatever the general administration are there, for that purpose, whatever the cost is required, which incurred in the respect of general administration and the management of an enterprise. Okay, any enterprise or business is there, that is required. There a portion among cost units on some appropriate basis, like factory overheads, administrative overheads, also tend to fix and variable. This again, administrative overhead expenses, there may be fixed one or variable. What is the fixed administrative overheads and what are the variable administrative overheads? We will see one by one. In fixed administrative overheads include the rent of the offices, okay, rates on the office or buildings, or the salaries, or we can say the warehouses, godowns, okay, or salary on these various, you can see the various posts are there, just like a CEO or main boss, that general administrative department, each and every post for the management manager level, or the personal department manager or the planning department manager, or various divisions are there with their higher post. They are having the higher post salaries for those executives, or the CEO or managing director or directors, executives, or the different clerical staffs, or the HR department, labor welfare officer. These all costs come under the administrative overhead cost, but this cost is fixed one, not vary with the volume of production. So this cost is fixed, so it is called as fixed administrative overhead cost or expenses. Similarly, the cost of the security, cost of the legal charges, you can say the audit fees, that come under the cost of the the fixed administrative overhead costs or expenses. Okay, so the costs of depreciation for any industry or machinery, or we can say cost of office furniture. What are the costs required for the office furniture? That is also considered. Building depreciation costs, that also considered as a fixed administrative cost. Yearly that will be depreciation will be there for machinery, office furniture or buildings. Or we can say vehicles in industry, there are a number of vehicles are used for various purpose. Various industry having different vehicles, then again that cost also depreciation cost is considered. The owner of the company of that vehicle, so we have to every year reduce the depreciation cost. So friends, you can watch the video for the depreciation cost, what depreciation and their cost and their numerical on the depreciation in different videos. Now we'll see the variable cost, administrative variable cost, like that will vary with the production, volume of production. The cost stationery or postage or telephone charges, or cost of lighting or heating expenses. You can see in this picture what is the lighting required. If the production is there continuously, then it is required. Or there may be selling and distribution. Now third one is the selling and distribution. Under this fixed selling, the overhead cost, what will the in selling cost? It includes such expenses which are incurred for creating and enhancing the demand for the products. Selling is what? Creating and enhancing the demand of product. So that may be fixed cost or variable cost. Under the fixed selling overhead cost, the cost of advertisement, publicity like Facebook or any social media, or advertisement through internet, radio, mobile media, banner, newspaper, marketing, brand, or trademark, or the customer selling, or these online or the commercial, or these broadband based. What are the concept ads we have to give the through TV or the mobile? These come under the publicity and advertisement cost for the selling overhead cost. It is fixed one. Okay, it's one it is decided, not depend on the product. Similarly, the showroom cost. Okay, fixed under the display expenses. Showrooms of industries are there. That is the fixed cost. Again, the cost of rent and rates of the sales offices, or the salary to sales manager or sales staff, or the market research expenses are required, or these cost of the preparation of the tenders and estimations. That is also major fixed selling costs. To take the tenders or estimations we have to prepared for the getting the new orders. That will come under the fixed selling cost. The cost commission to sales force, like Amazon, where through Amazon we can sell our product. So that cost required, that will be variable cost according to the increase in the sale, that will be increase. Okay, so these come under the selling, the variable cost. After the sales services, cost of the after sales services, or bad debt, variable selling overhead. Under this bad debt also we can consider. What is bad debt? Nothing but the cost it is expected to come, but it is not able to collect that irrecoverable from that person. We are not, हम लोग उनसे नहीं ले सकते हैं. We are not able to collect the money from that person, or not able to collect. That means we have failed to collect the from that person money from that person who was supposed to pay the same amount. So that come under the bad debts. Okay, that will come under the selling overheads, variable selling overhead cost. Now you can see the discount allowed. Okay, what are the journal entry we have to do it. What is the discount for this purchasing this type of the bottles? We are giving the 2 bottles free. That discount allowance allowed, that come under the variable selling cost. Now you can see the distribution overhead cost. Again here distribution overhead cost with the fixed and variable. Under this distribution expenses, the fixed rents, taxes of the finished good, warehouses, good, maintenance of the delivery van or vehicles, or the salary to the dispatch staff or the store of the staff, that come under the fixed distribution cost. What are the persons are required for the distribution, that salary to that come under the fixed distribution cost. The cost of secondary packing, that will be variable distribution overhead cost. Under this variable distribution cost, the secondary packing, what are the packed finished products are again where to secondary packing is required for the loading, unloading, or for the safely give delivery to the customer. This distribution costs under this secondary packing or loading expenses or the freight charges or carriage outward charges are required, which will be moving through these shippings or through the railway or the aeroplane or through these containers. What are the charges are required for distribution? Now concluding with this, all the we have studied direct material cost, direct labor cost, direct expenses, factory overhead also we have studied, administrative and distribution overhead and selling overhead also we have studied. To find out the selling price, what is required, how to find out the selling price? First we have to find out the direct material cost, direct labor cost and direct expenses. Addition of these three which will give the prime cost. This prime cost added in the prime cost the factory overhead. Already we have studied factory overhead, and this prime cost, addition of these two, that will give the factory cost. This factory cost is added in this factory cost the administrative overhead, distribution overhead, selling overhead. Addition of these three and the factory cost, which will give you the total cost. Now the total cost of production is there. This cost of production along with the added with the profit, whatever the amount of profit required, 20%, 30% on whatever the percentage of profit you decided, that profit plus cost of accounting, that will be your selling price. So friends, selling price is find out with the total cost plus addition of the profit. So these are the elements of the cost, and like this we have to find out the selling price. So friends, this is my video. Thank you for watching my video. And subscribe, if not subscribe my channel Kadam Academy.